Before we start the show, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Their support keeps this show free for you.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Hi, I'm Michelle, a mother of 2 teens. 13 years ago, I traded in punishments and rewards for connection. Now I prioritize relationship over behaviors, utilize play as a parenting tool, and set limits with empathy instead of consequences. Each week, I share my journey and interview clients, experts, and followers. Thanks for joining me on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm Michelle, and I have a lovely couple on here who has a question that we are going to dive into. So, Michael and Melanie, welcome to the show. And can you tell us just a little bit about what you're struggling with and what kind of kids you have, how old they are?
Okay, so we have 2 boys, Anthony and Adriano, and one's 4 and one's 3. So they're very close in age. And our older one, Anthony, seems to be a little bit more physical. He's small. He was also preemie, and he's small. So we don't know if that's related to why he resorts to asserting himself through violence. But he speaks about violence a lot. Like he'll say, like, I'm going to hurt you, or I want to hurt my brother. I want to hurt you if I don't get what I want. And he seems to have targeted one certain person in his school on the bus. And there was on numerous occasions he's hurt her on the bus, and he also talks about her a lot at home. Sometimes good, like sometimes I want her to come over because, you know, they used to get along, but recently it's been, I want to hurt her. I want to scratch her, and just, she's mean. Yeah.
He gets a kick out of it. He does it sometimes with a big smile on his face to say, like, he definitely has fun saying it. He does it even at bedtime when we know he's trying to delay his bedtime while doing it. And that's that one particular thing. But he sometimes will just do it out of the blue in the car, sit in the back and just say it without being prompted at all.
Okay. I've seen this before. And what I can tell you and what it kind of sounds like, and the more you're talking about it, but let's get into it more, but it sounds like there's a lot of emphasis on this aggression. Let's call it aggression and not violence, only because he's a little kid, right?
Yeah.
A lot of emphasis on this aggression. It sounds like maybe you guys are talking about it a lot. It's a big hot topic in the home. He's obviously knows that you guys are worried about it. Is that fair to say?
Probably.
Yeah. So we would give him very big reactions in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'd say, you don't say that. I don't want to hear you using those words. What are nice words we can say? And I would try and prompt him with nice words. But then my girlfriend, who's also in child psychology, said, don't react, stop reacting. Yeah. So we completely stopped.
You say this about a month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tried to not react at all. Or
right, when he's saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what did you see in that month with his?
We noticed it stopped a little bit. And he didn't see her over the Christmas break for a little while. So it kind of wasn't as much of a topic in our house. And then as soon as he did see her, before. It was a little bit, actually.
Like
it was
you would say, even up to the last day of the Christmas break, it was something you would just out of the blue say. Like,
okay. I think for me, I wouldn't ignore it. I think ignoring it might be just as festering as responding to it with big reaction. I would respond to it with connection. Every single time he says, I want to hurt so-and-so on the bus, be like, are you sure you don't need a hug? Every time he says, I'm getting on the bus this time and I'm going to really do X, Y, and Z to her. You can say, what about a little thumb war? Would you like to do a thumb war? Would you like do a hide and seek? I would totally, completely move directly to connection, because I think he's looking for some sort of reaction, some sort of maybe connection in a way. And if you're ignoring the response, then he's going to keep clamoring to get something from you.
Okay.
And if you respond with connection, now you're giving him something positive and you're giving him something that he probably is looking for, some sort of attention. And so I would just ignore it, in that you're not going to respond to that actual thing, but you're going to respond to him with connection. A hug, a kiss, a game, a thumb war, a hide and seek, and anything you can think of that he likes. Does he like arm tickles? Does he like, what is it that he likes?
He loves math. So we started doing that. Like
hugs too.
He loves hugs too. Yeah. So he really likes hugs. He loves math. So he's like a math genius. So we've been doing that at night, because he'd always bring it up at night.
Yeah.
I would just say, okay, let's do your math instead. And I'd ask him
I would try to
math.
do something more connective than a
Like
skill.
physical?
Yeah, I would try
Okay.
affection for now.
Okay.
Let's try affection every single time. And you've got to be really kind of consistent with it. Every time you hear him say anything aggressive or that he wants to be aggressive, I would offer connection. If he loves hugs and kisses and he loves that kind of stuff, I would go there, especially for his age. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think now you're going to give him connection, and hopefully in a couple of weeks, hopefully you'll see a decrease in the language. I would hope. I would try that. I would also ask, like, what's the temperament of this young girl? Do we know?
She's very sweet. It's not.
Do we know what's happening before he does? Do we know what's leading up to these? Do we know anything about it?
I mean, we're not there. It's on the bus. We're not there. But I have asked him, and he's said, Nevaeh is nice to me. I'm not nice to he's Nyla. And he's very blunt. Sorry, I said the wrong name. He's very blunt about it.
Yeah.
She always says hi to me. I don't want. So maybe it's something that she's giving him attention he doesn't want to have. I'm not sure the reason behind it, but it seems to be her. And my other question was, how do we respond when he actually does hurt her?
I wouldn't respond, unfortunately. Because I don't think your response is going to change anything. I don't think it's going to keep him or not keep him from hurting her again. But I was going to ask, like, what kind of connection pieces are you using at home? And are you using any sort of punitive measures, like consequences, punishments, timeouts, threats, bribes, yelling, like any of that stuff going on at home?
We don't really yell, but we will say, like, if we see he hurts his brother, we'll say, okay, come, let's sit down and let's talk about it. And we'll like take him out of like the playroom and we'll separate him and we'll talk about it. We don't like send him up to his room or do that. And we do say, like, when you do this, then we can do this. Like we do that.
So I guess you would call there. Yeah, there would be
bribes. Yeah.
We call them rewards, but
same difference. Yeah. Bribe or reward or whatever. I think too, if do we think he's a highly sensitive kid?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So when he's fighting with his brother and we pull him away and we correct him, right? You're going to sit down and when us parents say we're going to sit down and have a talk and we're going to talk about it, it's usually us lecturing them on what they've done wrong.
Yeah.
And for a sensitive child, that feels like a punishment. And then they start to feel shame. And then that shame can make him more upset with his brother, because his brother didn't get him in trouble, but his brother got him into a place where he had to be corrected and he felt shame. And so then it just exacerbates the aggression wheel that your son is in, because he's feeling corrected and you're on the brother's side. You're not on his side. So I would get rid of it completely. When they're having a hard time and he's aggressive with his brother, come to him with affection.
Oh.
Looks like you're having a hard time, honey. Do you need a hug?
Yeah.
Looks like you're having a hard time. Would you like to go do special time? Do you do special time?
We've been doing that with him. Yeah. Because I saw it from you about like letting him lead and spending that time with him. Yeah.
So I have. Ask him in that moment. You pull him right out of there. You get in between he and his brother and you say, oh, looks like you're having a hard time here. Do you need a hug? You go to him. You make sure brother's okay. You put your hand behind your back.
Yeah.
Say, are you okay? But you make sure you go to your son that's being aggressive first, because he probably believes that you guys are on his brother's side.
Okay. And then from the flip point, do you think it's harming Adriano because he's feeling like my brother's hurting me and you're not helping me?
Good question. And people ask this all the time. The best help we can give Adriano is to get his brother regulated. And if we keep reprimanding his brother, he's going to keep coming after Adriano.
Mm.
And so the best thing we can do is to help actually in these scenarios, these sibling aggressive scenarios. I know it sounds weird, but in my mind, the one that's hurting the most is the one who's being aggressive. Because they have gotten to such a horrible place that they've decided to scratch or bite or kick or hit or whatever it is. And so they are the ones who actually need the connection. The child who got hit, they got physically hit and they got, physically hurt, which is a totally different hurt than an emotional
temporary.
hurt. Yeah, it's just like, oh, I got scratched. It's okay. I'm not in this heightened, crazy emotional state. So we really have to get to the aggressor first.
Okay.
Or it will continue to loop. And I think that's what's happening. And I think what's happening now is he feels bad about himself. And so that's why he's saying, I'm going to be mean. I'm going to hit her. I'm going to kick her. I'm going to do all these things. I'm bad. I'm mean. And he's now internalizing it. And so he's getting in a bad loop here. And we got to put a cog in the wheel. And the cog in the wheel is affection and connection. Before we continue, let's take a moment to thank our sponsors. Their support lets us keep bringing you the show completely free.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
Are you sick of the sibling fighting? Are you tired of asking your child to do the same thing over and over and over again, only to end up using threats and bribes to try to get them to cooperate? Well, it doesn't have to be like that. You can learn the ideas of connection through our Connected Parent Mastermind group coaching program. We meet 3 days a week. Myself and my 2 coaches hold meetings. We also give you access to all of my online materials, meaning 10 modules of instruction, PDFs, podcasts, and my book. You get to join our school community and interact with coaches and myself and so many parents who are doing this work just alongside you. So if you're feeling stuck, or if you want to accelerate your connected parenting practice even further, join the Connected Parent Mastermind. Click the link in the show notes for more information. Thanks for supporting our sponsors. Now back to the show. I had a little girl a couple years ago. She was biting her sister. She was 3.5 and she was biting her all the time. And the parents were just like you guys, so sweet. And they just were like, first they would talk to her and then they would, try to put her in the other room. And then by the end of it, they were screaming at this kid because they didn't know what else to do because they couldn't get the biting to stop. But as soon as we started using affection, it changed things.
Okay.
And we were looking at it like rewarding bad behavior with I don't want to say positivity, with what he wants so we were trying to not do that. Actually,
I know. I totally get that because this feels super counterintuitive because old school parenting says, no, you're going to be punished. You can't do that. We're not going to reward you for hitting your brother. No way.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it logically, he's hurting.
Yeah.
He's having the hard time. He might tend to be more aggressive with you all than he will be with his friend or his brother, especially if he's in does he ever have tantrums?
It's more of a reflex. It's more of just for instance, I don't want to use
just an
soap
impulse
on my
control.
hands. You put soap on my hands.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to hit you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Impulse.
I would use play that. I'd be like, what? Are you trying to hit me? Oh, no, you didn't. I'm going to give you a big fat hug.
Okay.
Oh, so make it fun.
Make it fun. And that won't encourage it. He won't think of it. I know.
He might. Some kids will be like, I'm going to hit you, mommy. What are you going to do? After you do it for a while because they want the affection so badly. They want the connection so badly. But now they're doing it for a different reason, right? They're doing it to get connection. So if you get there, then I think you're winning.
Okay. And you don't think, I mean, in your line of work, you don't see him at school be physical because he thinks it's fun or funny and it's a game?
No, I think just the opposite. When we can normalize and work on aggression at home, usually it permeates everywhere else because they feel good and connected. So what's happening in these moments where he's being aggressive is his prefrontal cortex, the reasoning center of his brain. And just like Mike was saying, like, that's your impulse control center. That's your decision-making center. That's the center that's the good brain. And that brain is falling offline. And so he can't make a good decision.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you send him to school, so let's say he has a fight with his brother in the morning and he gets a lecture, and then you send him to school, you're sending him to school like this. If he has a fight with his brother and you come to him with connection and you can get him back online, then you're sending him to school like that. We want to send him to school with his prefrontal engaged so that he can make better decisions at school. But if he's offline at home a lot, then he's going out into the real world offline. So that's why we want to make sure we get him back online and connected all the time so that we can make sure that he's going out into the real world with connection and a brain that's working.
Yeah, that makes sense. He is a kid that really thrives on positive reinforcement. He loves, like he says, are you proud of me for this? Like he really enjoys that. And we do give him a lot of that.
I wouldn't give him any positive reinforcement only because positive reinforcement can be considered. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh my God, Melanie's going to pass out, everybody. You're not on the podcast. You can see her. She's like, her eyes rolled back in her head and she almost fell off her chair. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not saying any. I'm just saying.
No, it's good. I'm happy I brought that up. Okay. So
yeah, I'm glad you brought it up too. So positive reinforcement, really A's and praise. If you know Alfie Cohen at all, he's a great educator out of New York State. He has a good book that's called Punished by Rewards. And basically his work, his body of work, and he followed Dr. Deci from the 50s who did similar work, say that when we reward behavior, it becomes a punishment when you don't get the reward. So if your son is reward seeking, like it sounds like he is, and then he has a moment where he's not getting the reward, he feels punished. And you might not see every little thing that he's doing well. And so he might be going like, wait, where's my reward? You didn't notice me. I did this thing over here. Why didn't you reward me? And then now we have a kid who's constantly needing external motivation to do things instead of internal motivation. We want him to have internal motivation to do the right thing. Does that make sense?
It does.
Did I go too far?
No. It just raised the question then about how to
scale back on it.
Him to achieve the internal motivation.
You get him to achieve the internal motivation by connection.
And just like routine and connect, like just play with him.
The more connected a child feels, the more cooperative they are. Cooperation and connection go hand in hand. So if you do daily special time, you're constantly giving him hugs when he's messing up. You come to him with empathy and understanding when he's having, oh, you're really upset about this. I understand. That's also connective. If you're using play, that's connection. So we want to use all the pillars of connection all day long so we can help him feel connected. And then those kids have better self-esteem and they're more cooperative. You don't have to praise a kid. You really don't. And we don't want them to be praise seeking.
Okay.
The kid that says, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm on the thing, mommy. I'm on the thing, mommy. And you're like, what is going on with this child?
Literally, he was doing that yesterday.
And it's because they want you, and he's sensitive. And so he wants it. He needs the positive reinforcement all the time, but we want him to just be okay not having it.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You've like nailed Anthony to a G. Exactly.
I've seen his kind before.
Yeah.
I've seen his kind before. He's similar to my daughter, my Esme. She's sensitive and she's strong and she's attention seeking and she needs lots of connection, and they're not easy kids to raise. And I'm so sorry.
No.
Oh,
And
no,
he's the
still,
best.
he's a joy to
most of the
raise.
time.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
the best. He just,
Yeah.
it's just the language that was concerning me. So, and it was more that I didn't know what to do. So I'm so happy now I have okay, this is how I should respond. Because I'm like, what am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? I didn't know what to do.
It's hard to know because, you guys are first-time parents and you've got a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. How are you supposed to know? I didn't know anything. I've been doing this stupid work for 14 years now. And I've been doing it with that. 15 years and it's finally sinking in.
Wow. Yeah.
How would you say if it doesn't resolve at a certain time, should we? Because the other question was, my husband has ADHD and it may be genetic, and I see some traits in Noah. So at what point do we think that it could also be a little bit of that?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So it could very well be ADHD has, poor impulse control. That's like a hallmark of it. It's also a hallmark of 4-year-olds, but it could be. And if it is, the lovely piece is that kids with ADHD thrive in connection because that's what they need. All kids need connection. And we have tons of kids or parents of kids in our community. I'd say 40% of the parents in our community have a kid who has ADHD. And that most practitioners will tell you rewards and punishments for those kids, but they don't do well with rewards and punishments. And you end up really having to reward like you are, or really having to punish. But they do thrive in connection because they feel safe and secure, and because it keeps their immature, inexperienced, prefrontal impulse control brain more online than not. And punishment keeps it more offline.
Okay.
So even if he is, you're on the right track.
Okay. Good to know.
That is good to know.
You guys are going to do great. You're just going to do a few little tiny changes, but I think it'll make a big difference in the way he feels. And I think that's our goal, is to try to get him to feel better. And when he feels better, then he will behave better.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
Sounds like a good plan.
Let me know. I would like to hear, I would say 2 to 3 weeks, I think, really leaning into connection and affection as much as you can. And then after those 3 weeks, really assess, has it gotten better? And even if it's just gotten a little bit better, you're on the right track.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're so
We
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And we'll see you guys all next time.
Great. Thank you so much.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.